Six after 8 o'clock. Hussein, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Julie. Good morning to the viewers or listeners as well.
Both. Lovely to have you on the show this morning, but at the same time, quite frustrated because we're hearing the Minister of Energy. He kind of seems to be speaking with forked tongues because one minute we hear that our energy woes will be over pretty soon, things are looking pretty positive. Then we hear issues around green energy. Um, Government seems to be promoting it, but at the same time, we're being cautioned that there are lots of obstacles as well because you have fly-by-nights and you could be done out of your very hard-earned cash because you might get a not a very good quality installation with inferior quality solar panels, etc., etc., and the list just goes on. Now we're hearing that Koeberg, the repair delays and the impact it's having on load shedding. uh, I understand it was meant to have happened a year ago. What has caused the delay and what does this impact look like as far as South Africa is concerned?
So the energy is a system, electrical system that works together. Where, from a generation point of view, you need to have sufficient generation to be able to meet the needs of communities or of South Africans. And the whole system is constrained right now. And every other single plant, whether it's Koeberg or Kusile or Mitupi, any of the power plants that are part of the supply system, when they have problems, it increases the probability of constraints going forward. So with respect to Koeberg, but in particular, it was supposed to be extended in terms of its life as it has existed for many years from the 80s. And so there are upgrades that needs to happen, and it needs to be done for the plant to comply with environmental and safety requirements. So there seems to be a delay with one of the unit, and the second unit is supposed to come in immediately. So when there's a delay with the first unit, it means now there will be almost 920 megawatts, which is a huge capacity that will be off. And that if both of them are off at the same time, that will exacerbate the problem we already have.
So, Jose, I understand that the Minister of Electricity, Ramakgopa, says that he is very, very, very worried that the Koeberg refurbishment is behind schedule, which obviously we all know will result in high stages of load shedding continuing into 2024. A couple of weeks ago, his sentiments were pretty different. What do we make of all of this, mixed messages from him? And we're just not quite sure where we stand.
I think maybe we should, the challenge we have is that we have a political office doing the communication on a complex system, electrical system, that doesn't always have guarantees. And looking at it from a short-term point of view, Eskom is recovering, trying to recover their system, the coal-fired power plants, and make sure that they perform at a particular level. They are not yet there. And announcements that are optimistic without taking into account that system, something can go wrong anytime, are the ones that are creating that. The minister today says this and he says that. He uses a 7-day forecast, whereas infrastructure is a long-term game, really. You have to look at reliability of the plants that you have been managed to maintain over a longer period of time, and not be keen to say the good news to consumers, because anything goes wrong. Like right now, for instance, we faced winter, which was very cold, and therefore a huge increase in energy demand, larger than expected. That meant that there was a strain on the supply side. So it's always a balancing game between the supply side, which are the plants, as well as the demand side. On the demand side, you mentioned consumers. yes, do have solutions in terms of solar PV systems and all of that, but they're still connected to the national grid. They only use that during load shedding. So there still is demand that comes from them at a particular time when they are not able to rely on their own sources. So until we have new capacity, additional capacity, that standby capacity for any eventuality. For instance, if there's a problem with Koeberg and it's prolonged, then that capacity will be able to come in. That's what other countries do. We unfortunately don't have that, and we won't have reliability until those issues are sorted out.
Now, I understand that Koeberg, the license would expire in 2024. So it
Yes.
is, my understanding is that it is crucial that we get Koeberg up and running. We do all the necessary refurbishments so that we can reapply for the license to run for a longer period. How long will that period run for? And in the meantime, what other strategies do we have in place? Because eventually Koeberg will outlive its lifespan. At some point in the future, it's going to have to be shut down in its totality. How many years of life is there still left in Koeberg after the current refurbishment?
So we will have, I mean, Koeberg, firstly, it's critical that you, as you correctly point out, by 2024, that we have that up and running. And that the reason why there's a concern is because the plan was to have Unit 1 back on stream and then go to fix Unit 2. But now there seems to be potential delays with Unit 1. That means now we will may have both of them off at the same time and not benefit from having the other one back on stream. That is the challenge. And in terms of the licensing, it is critical that there definitely is an extension. The extension will be over a long period of time because it's basically overhauling the whole plant to give it a new lease in life and a more reliability, more safety. So it will be over a long time. And we have been benefiting from Koeberg, particularly from the fact that the costs of running it, even though the cost of the capital infrastructure are very high, the cost of running it are the lowest in the countries. And it's been the most reliable for us since 1980. So we do need to continue to benefit from that. And it will be over many years.
Many years, meaning about 20, 30 years?
Yes, about over 20 years, definitely.
Oh, perfect. I'm kind of wondering what was the reason for the delay? Is it legitimate reasons, or do heads have to roll? Was it poor planning, or is it just one of those eventualities that kind of happens when you least expect it to happen?
So Eskom has been having a problem with respect to experts, especially the head of that of Koeberg. Left for overseas opportunities, and quite a few people have been living with skills have been leaving Eskom. That is part of the problem. Part of the problem is that you have, as I said, the whole system really has been there's been a struggle within Eskom in terms of managing outages. Managing outages means that if you say an outage will be over 3 months, you at least are able to meet those timelines. We understand from yesterday that Eskom has parted ways with Mr. Oberholzer, who was one of the people who were responsible, as in recently, for making sure that the project management happens within that. So there seems to be problems with, I think that it's really skills and managing those outages to make sure that there are no delays. Some of the delays we are told in ISCOMs relate to procurement of parts and things like that. It's quite a lot of different things that are happening there.
And notwithstanding what we hear about sabotage, etc., and I think that adds to the woes of Eskom, unfortunately. Regarding the situation with Koeberg, undoubtedly we're going to be experiencing some challenges. But a while ago, there was also the stories around the car power ships from Turkey. That was, yes, it's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. Yes, a deal has been signed. No, it hasn't been signed. And that ongoing saga. I guess South Africans who are really and truly strapped under this issue of load shedding, small businesses having to close their businesses, etc., probably look upon the car power ship as a blessing in disguise. Other people don't see it that way. There is whispers in the corridors that there's going to be lots of certain individuals are going to be benefiting greatly with this, the implementation, if it does in fact happen. Where are we on that matter? Is it going to go ahead? Will it address our power situation, our energy situation in the country? Is it a good deal? At what cost is it to the South African taxpayer?
So the car power ship was procured by the Ministry or the Department of Minerals and Energy through the Independent Power Producer Office as one of the risk mitigation independent power producer solutions. A car power ship is really a plug and play power plant that is, and what you do is you connect, it's already built, it just connects to the grid in the country. But obviously you need infrastructure in the ports to be able to do that. And it has been used in a number of countries, including some of the African countries, successfully. The terms can be long-term, the terms can be short-term. In our case, we looked at a long-term solution, and some had concerns with respect to that, as it was going to lock us in a long-term deal and not really building infrastructure in the country. And there was some opposition with respect to that. But what it would do from a supply side, for supply of electricity point of view, it would obviously alleviate the problem that we're having, because we would not need the long lead times of building new infrastructure. We would have already built in infrastructure. So the concerns now, the Minister of Electricity said that they would reduce the term, meaning how long, the 20-year term, to a reasonable term, and they are still negotiating that. It's apparently still on the cards, but with a shorter term, like looking at 5 years or less for the minister, and that negotiation goes on. Obviously, when the term is shorter, there will have to be additional costs to take into account that. And so that negotiation is still ongoing, and we'll see what happens with that.
And undoubtedly, as you say, if we enter into that particular agreement on a short-term basis, it will allow the country to get our infrastructure up, ready and rolling. So when that contract ends, we're ready to go. It's just a matter of flicking a switch. So we hope.
We hope so. You'll never
Husna,
know with South Africa.
absolutely, absolutely. Let me wrap up because I do know you've got to go. You on standby for another interview. As an energy expert, how do you read the situation that we're currently experiencing in the country? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? Excuse the pun, but do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
It's a mixed reaction. I do have confidence in terms of the ESCOM board and how they are trying to turn around things at ESCOM, and we've seen some success there. But I think that we should not be naive and think that these are short-term solutions, because these solutions that we are busy with now, the Koebergs and all of that, I think that should have been done years prior to be able to meet the demand now. Now we're scrambling, we're trying to fix things here and there. So we are not going to have a reliability and until at least a minimum of 2 years. But we may have some respite in terms of the intensity of load shedding.
Ruse Moleshe, thank you indeed for talking with us. You're an energy expert. And I guess it's just sit and wait, wait and see attitude regarding our energy woes are concerned. But like you, I too am hopeful that it will eventually, be fixed. So thank you indeed for your time. Go well and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
821 News and Views on Salam Media, standing by to talk with us in a minute or two is His Excellency Mohammed Salim Oud Salek. And we're going to be looking at the issue around apartheid Israel recognizing Moroccan sovereignty over Western Sahara. So please do stay with us. It's an important discussion.